Hello everyone, today we will be talking about public administration, a brief analysis of this year's public administration paper. We'll start with paper 1. So yes, this year's public administration papers were a bit different as compared to the last few years, but not entirely different. If you follow the cyclical trend of public administration, this type of question have already come in the previous set of years. See, we have been emphasizing on the cyclical nature of papers which come in the public administration optional. If you follow or track that cycle, you can predict this kind of questions or implicit type of questions where you have to infer a lot of things to write. Okay. In fact, this type of questions, when it comes, it's relatively easy to decide which optional questions you will be writing, because some questions are as such you will eliminate that option altogether. But unlike the trend which was from we can say 2020 to 2024, of course there was aberration in 2022 where selecting a question becomes very difficult, because you know everything and then it creates a confusion whether to write question number 2 or question number 7 or so on and so forth. So this type of paper, this uncertainty of what to write, which question to select, reduces substantially. So that is a positive aspect. See, we were talking about the cyclical trend. So see, this is the trend which public administration has been going through with respect to the mains papers of optional. So 2013 to 14, the questions were implicit, inferable. You need to infer a lot of things to write. The questions were not direct. It's not directly asked. You need to connect things. From this trend, 2016 to 2019, questions were very direct, moderate level of questions. We can say easy to moderate, not much difficult to write. And here 2020 to 24, it was also very easy to moderate trend. Questions were very direct and not much challenge to understand the question. The challenges were different, as we talked about, that selecting which question to write, that was a major challenge. And so 2025, we will put the paper in this trend, 2025. So this trend has come again. Many of the questions, even the implicit question on bureaucracy talks about Karl Marx. Karl Marx have already come here. Also, there is a question of postmodernism and post-positivism has already come in this era. So it's clearly the era of this era has started now of public administration. So it was not that very surprising that question paper may come this way. It is the trend UPSC follows with respect to public administration. We had been emphasizing follow the cyclical pattern. We were setting up questions also. Keep in mind this cyclical pattern of UPSC so that you are ready for any type of eventualities. So now let's discuss the paper in a brief manner. See, compulsory questions, not much challenging to write. Paper questions were rather more direct, pointing towards the aspects of the syllabus, the components of the syllabus, so you can relate directly with those theories. So question number 1, imperfect market and political factors limit the application of public choice approach. Explain. So basically it talks about public choice approach, how public choice approach fails to achieve what it has been visualized, that methodological, individualism, perspective, character, etc. This success of PCA is limited by this. So that way you have to write, not much challenge, question is pretty much direct. Now let's come to question number 1B. The fine art of decision making is not making decision that others can make. So yes, decision making, you can relate this with Herbert Simon, decision making model. So it is talk about facts, values. That way you can take When if you take fact-based decisions, it may not be popular. So we have to take rational decisions, but value aspects is missing. So on the one side there will be efficiency, on the other side it may become unpopular. Okay, so this way, and you can also relate with paper 2, that is Indian administration as well. Okay, then come to the third one. See, Indian media has the media mix its role in holding government accountable and ensuring transparency. Yes, pretty much simple question. Role of media is explicitly mentioned in your syllabus, accountability and control chapter, so not much problem here too. Now next 1D, Herbert Simon, again Simon, justified in criticizing some principles of administration as proven. Yes, Herbert Simon, simple question, when he called the classical principles as mere probes for each and every principle, there is an opposite principle. So they are just an extension of common sense, nothing more. So that way you have to write, but you have to analyze. So write the other aspect as well. So pretty much doable. Let's come to the next compulsory question. See, next is talks about administrative law has evolved from a need to create a system of public administration under the law. Yes, basically it's talking about the role of administrative law in public administration. Yes, pretty much doable question, no issues in this. So question number 1, that is a compulsory 5 question, pretty much straightforward, not much challenging. So yes, but you have to keep in mind 3 aspects. First is understanding the question. Question first. Second is what? Relate with theories, etc. Which part of the syllabus is talking about, and third, relate with paper 2, that is Indian administration and current affairs wherever possible. So this will give a polished overtone to your answers, and it will fetch you 1.5 marks extra in each of the papers. But if you fail here understanding the question, then UPSC punishes it very brutally. They most of the times, whatever we can infer from the marks people get, most of the times they even give 0 if you don't interpret the question in the right manner. Okay. So now the challenge, which question to write. Now optional questions. Question 2, let's look at the question 2. NPM has actually been a transitory state in the evolution from traditional public administration to what here is called as new public administration. So NPM has been in evolutionary TPA and new public governance. So basically it's talking about the evolution of public administration from TPA, NPA, NPG. So basically, but we have to give more emphasis on NPM. So you have to show how it's a transitory model, that is post governance, post NPM models. This NPG is a post NPM model. So this way you have to write, and you have to examine a bit, rather showing that it's due to the nature and scope of public administration, NPM there is new scope gets widened, and it remains in a transitory approach. Okay, so not much challenging, so highly doable. Now next, classical question. Classical, that is much sought after thinker of UPSC, Mary Parker Fuller. Here too, no issue. Pioneered the evolution of socio-psychological approach. So evolution, she started, how the other thinkers continued. About the socio-psychological approach, that we too you have to write. The participative thinkers, neo-participative, the behavioral thinkers, how she pioneered it. That later her works continued by other thinkers, that is the other schools, participative school, behavioral school, and the other schools you have to write. Okay, so yes, not much challenging. This too is very much writable, and you can also, it's directly pointing to the syllabus, and here too you can link with paper 2 Indian administration as well. Okay, now next 2C, Under new public management framework PPP, challenge the entropy of closed and open model organization. Yes, lot of interconnection here. NPM chapter 1, PPP, accountability and control. Then you have to come to the organization chapter, PPP. Then that way you have to relate. So, but the keyword entropy is what? It's destruction, that organization or a system reaches a destruction, that is entropy. It's self-destructive mode. So basically it's borrowed from electronics field, entropy. So that way it talks about entropy and closed and open model system. So basically open model and closed model is insulated from the environment, open model interacts with the environment. But PPP challenges both. Even if the closed and open model, still there are issues with PPP. Lot of things are in news with respect to PPP, with respect to the working of Indian administration. So no issues in it. You can write a highly enriched answer, and the word entropy is clearly mentioned in the chapter when you read about these two models, open system, closed system, systems theory talks about entropy. So this will require a bit of innovation, but it's totally rooted properly in NPM, PPP, and this. So there, so it leaves very little scope for abstractness. The question is very much clear. No problem in understanding, and content 2 must be there. So, and of course linkages with the Indian administration wherever possible. So question 2 is, yes, I think you should be attempting, you ought to be rather, but every person is different, may having different things of understanding, etc. But 2 is desirable, you attempt this. Let's move to the next part of the paper. Next option question 3. So question 3, in a conflict situation, in an organization, leadership migrates to aggressive and relegates to emotionally mature to the background. So again, this talks about the theories of leadership. So basically situational theories. So there are 3 situational theories of leadership broadly, that is the Hersey and Blanchard model, path goal theory, and Fred Fiedler. So there is telling, selling, consulting, etc. So basically this question is saying when there is a chaos, may not be hierarchical, may not be open environment in an organization, there may be a hierarchical task orientation, that is the leadership becomes relegates emotion, that is becomes aggressive, more of Taylorism, etc. So in a leadership perspective. So yes, pretty much doable question. So not much problem here. Question 3b, the foundation of public administration, new public management and public governance, rest on rule of law. Yes, pretty much straightforward question. Public administration, rule of law, what Wilson was saying, foundation of public administration. Then you come to NPM to be successful need its enemy Max Weber, that is rule of law. Okay, so yes, public governance, new public governance, etc. You connect, and this is what basically the question talks about. Yes, this also pretty much attemptable. There are also linkages with Indian administration. You can do this here. But now let's come to question 3. This is a very interesting question because it may appear that it is a public administration paper 2. Principle of checks and balances count among the most fundamental constitutional values. Yes, accountability and control chapter. There is a subtopic called control. So from there, checks and balances, fundamental constitutional values. But it's might be a bit difficult to not to leave the temptation of writing answer as public administration paper 2. So this may may fill, that's why it's may question 3 in entirety may look a bit challenging, especially for question 3C. But you can manage it, hopefully. So question 3, only the problem lies here to write as if it's in public administration paper 1 and not paper 2. But yes, you should connect with paper 2, but majority aspect of this answer should be of paper 1. Okay, so a little part can be of paper 2. So this is a challenge here. Okay, let's look at the next optional question. So question 4, delegated legislation, favorite of UPSC, always asking every other year. You can check the previous years. It used to come for 15 marks most of the times, or in the compulsory question of 10 marks. I guess for the first time it has come for 20 marks. So legislation should be clear and confine limits to the legislation. Misuse of air can be, yes, very simple question. Many aspects of Indian administration too you can relate. So very much highly attemptable question and very enriched content you all must be having. Lot of examples, many things are being used with respect to Indian administration as well. So interlinking of paper 1 with paper 2 and current affairs can be done here. Highly nice question to attempt. Let's come to question 4B. Leadership is not only about taking credit for achievement, but also owning up, being accountable for failures. Yes, very simple question. Transformational leaderships, that is how take credit for, give credit to the team and take and be accountable for failures. So basically nice question to attempt, good question. But the problem with question 4 is question 4C. Bureaucracy constitutes an imaginary state and a spiritualism of the state. Explain. So basically this is talking about the criticism of bureaucracy from the perspective of Karl Marx. This points towards Karl Marx criticism. Spiritual state, rational, it talks about idealism in bureaucracy, ideal bureaucracy, but it's an imaginary state. Bureaucracy plays a role of parasites as outlined by Karl Marx, and in that context you have to write the theory of alienation given by Karl Marx. We had emphasized in numerous times that Karl Marx is just waiting to come again. He had come in 2014, the mains public administration paper, and see that cycle also, that cyclical pattern. There we had club 2013 to 2015 era. There they had asked Karl Marx. You can go and check the paper. We had also made a detailed session on Karl Marx. You can go and check our YouTube channel. It has been uploaded since quite a while. Karl Marx, we were emphasizing. We had asked Karl Marx too in our tests. So it becomes important. This, if you know Karl Marx, this question 4 can give you fetch very high marks because of, see these questions. This is very easy. This question is also easy if you know Karl Marx very well. We had been emphasizing Karl Marx this year. We had been predicting Karl Marx will come. So this question is highly can give you very high marks. See, because if we also check this paper, this question 3C is problematic here. Challenge lies in opening up writing from perspective of paper 1. So if we choose question 2 and question 4, this will be the most in this paper optimum rational choice to fetch you high marks, provided you know Karl Marx. So this way you can make that substantial difference from your competitors and score that notch above the cutoff. That is the leverage you need in the mains examination. So yes, see, that's why it's important to cover public administration very holistically, the abstract concepts as well. Though Karl Marx is not directly mentioned in your syllabus, but it has come in the past, and Karl Marx is an important critique of the bureaucracy, and bureaucracy is the bread and butter of public administration option. So that way, yes, this is very much highly scoring, I would say. Question 4. Okay, we had explained this in very detailed Karl Marx. Okay, now let's come to the section B. So, e-advocacy model of e-governance can facilitate democratization of public policy. Basically, e-governance, e-advocacy, you have to connect about public policy. E-advocacy model has been talked many times, has been Niti Aayog is talking about e-advocacy model since 2022 or 2023. So there it has given the advocacy model. E-advocacy is basically lobbying, participation in policy making by interest groups through e-governance. So that way it talks about public policy, advocacy. Niti Aayog papers mentions many times e-advocacy of policy. So very much attemptable question, relatively easy question. Now let's come to question 5b. Neoliberal policies have enhanced the scope and opportunities of taxation for the government. Yes, many things can be written, very much doable. It has connected new the LPG part of your syllabus is financial administration. So taxation, many things, digital tax, digital economy, etc. Like how the Meta, Google have been taxed. That way, many taxation opportunities. So that way you can connect and write a very much doable question. Question 5c, policy analysis is a process is limited if possible outcomes and alternative potential are not detected. So yes, policy analysis, many times it has come already in the UPSC Public Administration optional. You can check past year papers every other year. They are keep on asking policy analysis, policy review, policy implementation, and nowadays UPSC doesn't directly ask the thinkers of public policy. Rather, this on 3 policy implementation, policy monitoring, policy review, policy analysis. This all aspects the public policy questions revolve. So this policy analysis again. So not much difficult to write. So question 5d, values and ethics in civil services are shaped by global practice and trends. So yeah, yes, not much challenging. A lot of content you must be having. Global practices and trends you have to write. That way you can relate. How you can also start with the value of efficiency given by Woodrow Wilson in 1887. From there also you can start how that value influenced the entire civil services throughout the world. Civil services are constituted the base. One of the goal is efficiency, economy, effectiveness. So from that you can start, then compassionate bureaucracy, etc. And today what Prime Minister of India says that the bureaucracy should have a attitude of Atithi Dev Bhava. So that way you can write all over values from the West, values from India, etc., values and ethics. So yes, global practices. So 5e, economic development alone is not sufficient. Component for women development and empowerment. Yes, economic development, very much a doable question. You can relate with self-help group. We need economic development, political development, social development, gender and public administration aspects, that component of the syllabus, gender and public administration, etc. Lot of things to write. When you have lot of things to write, the question comes for only 10 marks. That is the that we can say how that UPSC tries to make you think critically. So large, you have lot of material, how you will compress and write it 150 words. Okay, so yes, question 5, one can say pretty much easy to moderate. You can say not even moderate, I will say easy, but the challenge of course lies in connecting with paper 2 and current affairs. That will make the differentiated one paragraph, etc. If that is connected, very good marks you can expect. Okay, so compulsory question, not much challenging. In the section A, optional question, only the challenge was that the question 3C and 4C. 4C we had been emphasizing on Karl Marx, so hopefully it was doable for many people. 4C, so that way 4 and question 2 will be I will say the optimum choice to write. Now let's come to the optional questions of section 2. So FW rigs, okay, people may have got smiles reading this, but here see, industrial interdependent economy is a precursor for some features of postmodern. Now postmodern, directly UPSC has asked, directly mentioned rather, previously you go to I guess in 2014, they have directly asked post-positivism. So now postmodernism, post-positivism already asked, so remaining is post-structuralism. So yes, sociology aspects, but public administration is a polyglot discipline, borrows from many disciplines. So it is borrowed from sociology also. So they have asked postmodernism. Yes, but difficult question to write. We talk about agraria, industry and transistia model, but may people may having less content on this. Yes, content is less, and top of that you have to relate with postmodern features of public administration. So yes, we can say a skippable question. One should not break head on things which are very vague, not that direct, and not easy to infer what the question is asking. So it's better to skip this. The role and responsibilities of the state in the development process has been overemphasized and given undue importance, particularly examined. Basically talks about the development dynamics chapter, but yes, this is doable, but this is a bit problematic. So this we can say is pretty much doable. So let's move further. So question 6C, affirmative action for an equal opportunity is cornerstone in the recruitment of public services. And discussing global context, yeah, affirmative action people must be knowing with respect to Indian context, but global context, though second ARC gives some case studies of recruitment with respect to global context. Talk about French recruitment also, German also, so that way content is there. You can write this question to relate with affirmative action. So if you read second ARC, we were talking about, we have been emphasizing, and we were also discussing we keep on discussing in our sessions about second ARC, various recommendations and various concepts given there. So yes, doable, but because of question 6A, it be skippable. Okay, doable, skippable, because of the abstract nature of the question 6A. So it's not ideal to attempt, but not that everyone has limited knowledge or etc. People can innovate and people have knowledge also. So in an ideal situation we are saying. Okay, so let's move further. The objective of LPG and of new public management was to limit government functions and reduce public expenditure. So limit this and this. However, both functions and expenditure has increased. Okay, yes, pretty much doable, one can say. This talks about LPG intended to come to reduce government function, that is rollback of the government, rolling back of the state, making managers manage so that there is efficiency, but in the end government just ballooned. It became heavy, become fat, what Peter Drucker says, and so you have to write that this had become a paradox, account for the paradox. So we can say that inequality increase, more welfare schemes or budget in our country is 25 lakh crore. So see the amount of public expenditure increase, and also if you can, examples are also there to steps were taken to reduce in global context also. Hope you remember Trump administration came and he talked about DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, will cut the expenditure. Elon Musk was to head that, headed, then exited or made to exit. In India also, minimum government, maximum governance, leaner, meaner government. But what paradox is there? That way you have to write. Yes, requires a bit of innovation, but it's directly related to concepts, LPG and NPM. So yes, a bit doable. But because of question 7b, this becomes question 7 becomes skippable. Okay. So the basis of comparative public administration has evolved from institutional approach to the contemporary political economic process approach, CPA. These approaches have all these approaches enable the development of theory of CPA. Yes, this will require a lot of thinking. That is, it talks about the current status of CPA, how the approaches transform of CPA had institutional, now socio-economic process, and whether it has helped in theory building. In current status, we read not much in detail about theory, etc., theory building of with respect to CPA. So difficult to write. The 2 of 15 marks, content may not come. So yes, I will say skip this. So skip 7. Can competency mapping link to career development? Incentivize civil servant for effective service delivery. Competency mapping means it's talking about domain expertise. You recruit civil servants, see their background, their graduation, engineers, you map that competency, that electronic engineer, semiconductor area competency, computer engineer, AI competency, that way account people from commerce background, accounting competency. So that way you map them, groom them, career development according to them, and you have to check whether it will help in effective service delivery. So this question is doable. The problem of question 7 lies in this. So because of this, ideally this should be skipped. Skip question number 7. So we have skipped question 6, question 7. Now left is 8. So you have to attempt it anyway. And UPSC has made your task easy also. The question 8 is doable. Now let's come to question number 8. The effectiveness of civil society in development process only when state institutions are receptive to inputs from civil society organization. Yes, state should be enabler, that is good governance, civil society enlightened policy making, that way you can connect with good governance also. So the core aspect of the syllabus, that is concepts, theories, you can link. So pretty much doable question, and lot of you can easily connect with Indian administration, how some civil society help in policy framing. Plenty of examples are there. We'll discuss in detail when we have a holistic session on public administration discussion. Okay, so pretty much doable. Evaluate the role and scope of tacit knowledge and personal experience, important source of knowledge in policy making. So need to infer from where, to what aspect this question is talking about, or which thinker this question is pointing to. Yes, rational, extra rational factors, drawer policy making model. So it's talking about drawer. So indirectly the question is talking about drawer policy making. So that way you can write lot of examples as well, how extra rational factors and tacit knowledge and value aspects are taken into policy making even in the Indian administration. So plenty of scope to innovate, write, address, answer in this. So the question it's very much doable, easy question. The efficacy of management aid tools depends upon the purpose, appropriateness, tools and techniques. These are wealth examples. Yes, directly from the syllabus, last chapter, techniques for administrative improvement. Many management tools are mentioned directly in the syllabus, MIS, PERT, CPM. So pick up them, write, give some examples. Very much doable question. Question 8, I will say yes, you should attempt section B. So basically see, even though Okay, I'll write which one should be doing. Question 4 and question 2. See, question 4 is really a bonus question if you know Karl Marx. The rest of the 2 questions are pretty much easy and very straightforward as compared to question 3. So yes, time and again we have been emphasizing on Karl Marx. Now question 2 and question 8. This will maximize the score provided you know question 4C. So net the question paper was good, not that direct and not that confusion creating when respect to choosing the which optional questions to write. See, previously the papers were simple. We passed 2-3 years, you say, but the confusion comes which optional question to write. Here UPSC itself has selected the optional question, that is, don't write these questions that the theory etc, CP etc is asking. So the task, the challenge to which question to mark etc is reduced, and you can save the time and less confusion and focus. So this papers are, I personally like this kind of papers. Rest hopefully every one of you have written the papers well. See, don't get bogged down that now the UPSC has gone towards that. See, now what UPSC has done, it has scaled all the options at equal level, and every option scores the more or less the same marks. Even this paper is not that direct. You may get a pleasant surprise looking at the marks you may get in the public administration paper 1. See, last year in 2024 the paper 1 of public administration was relatively simple. Still people did not score well. So even when paper is abstract, checking may be lenient and you get good marks there. So that way, but remember 3 things with respect to public administration paper 1. You should clearly link with the concepts, that is which part of the syllabus it's talking about, the theories, the especially first 4 chapters of the syllabus. You can say majorly now even in section B they have started to ask from the first 4 chapters. And second aspect is that you should understand the questions properly, that is relate with the theory concepts. And third is relate with Indian administration, and if possible also relate with the current affairs. Okay, this is the crux to score well in public administration. I hope this session was helpful. When the more sessions will be coming up, we'll do for paper 2 and in-depth analysis or in-depth discussion of the entire public administration mains 2025 paper. I hope this helps and happy learning.